It's Travis's favorite brew,
Ooh,
or at
Ooh,
least
are
one
you
he
drinking a
enjoys
Timber
way too.
HP?
It is a Timber HP wood chip chocolate porter
very nice.
It's a
that I
fresh
may
one.
or may not have smuggled north across the border. So, anyways, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Aaron Jones. I am co-founder of Big Dog Construction, and welcome to BS&BEER Canada. I am drinking a Timber HP wood chip chocolate porter, which is a very, very, very limited run. Um, if you know, you know. And this evening, we're going to be talking about starting your own BS and beer group, which is very, very near and dear to my heart. It's part of the reason that I asked a bunch of people to join me to start BS and Beer Canada, because I didn't have anybody local to me that I could talk building science with. And now I have an entire community of people that I can talk building science with. So, Sean, you want to add a little bit more to this and tell us what you're
Yeah,
drinking?
absolutely. So I'm Sean Sainamore. I'm on the other coast, on the Pacific side. I'm the VP of operations with Clay Construction. So I tell my kids every day that I get to build with Lego. And if you know the Vancouver climate, I get to play with $1 million Lego sets, which is a lot of fun and trying to do a lot of high performance in everything that we do. And I had a couple choices tonight, but you know what? Now that the hockey season is over, I had leftover from, so I'm going with the like classic Coors Banquet, which now is called Original. So for all those that are in the Denver neighborhood, I'm giving a little love to that network because if you know Molson's, can a good Canadian company, is partnership with these guys. So going with one of those. And yeah, so I'm really excited to be here with Aaron and of course all the collaborators. So we have got Justin that we brought on board from Saskatchewan. He'll be here shortly. Our good pal Lori is on her way to Switzerland to learn about some fancy tapes. Connor, if he doesn't join us, we know that he's building himself a high performance house. And so hopefully you're following along on Instagram with his feeds because really cool discussions and nitty gritty that he's getting into. Again, it's great when people share their successes, their failures, and everything in between when you're doing a build. And our foreign correspondent is somewhere, somehow, probably with his thumb up, asking for a ride. So Mr. Mark Willie is, of course, in always good hands. But yeah, Aaron, we got some friends here.
We do have some special guests. I I think before we go any further, we should introduce Travis and Emily.
Yeah.
I'll leave it up to Travis and Emily to who goes first, but I would recommend, and I almost guarantee you what Travis is going to do.
I'm like,
Ladies
Travis is
first, of
gonna make me
course.
go first.
Of
I knew it.
course.
I knew it. I would have done the same.
I'm Emily Mottram. I'm an architect in Maine, which is like Canada Light. So I mean, I'm basically just in your area. Anyway, I the original BS and Beer group, which is called the Building Science Discussion Group, started in Maine, and several of these BS and Beer groups have started after that. But Travis and I definitely are doing well. He's got his local group. I've got a local group with Mike, but we do the BS and Beer show in the U.S. on the first Thursday of every month. And I am rocking the dry January, but for all my Canadian friends, my Energy New Brunswick water glass. So I got to present on the Pretty Good House at their conference last year in May. So
Nice. Well, it's a pleasure to be sharing the screen with all of you. Yes, I am Travis Brungardt. I get to co-host the BS and Beer show with Emily, and I do have BS and Beer KC here in my local market. And tonight I am drinking coffee because I'm driving, but I've labeled it as a kokanee out of respect for my friends from the north, because that would be the one that I would go with. Uh, Not a big Molson's guy, not a big Labatt's guy, but I'll drink some Kokanee Gold any chance I get.
Ooh, good pull. Yeah, that's
Local
a
favorites, you know. But yeah, we're thrilled to be joining you tonight. It's awesome to see what you guys have done in the north, taking the nation by storm, and global domination's just around the corner. We've been trying to do the same with the symposium series. We've got that coming up to you guys just next week. And then in Dallas in May, September, I think is Boston, and then Chicago in October. I may have those switched. Either way, Building Science Symposium series is ours. We try to do what we can to share the BS far and wide, which is the mandate that Mike Maines gave us with BS&BEER, and we're thrilled to be able to carry that on in a small part as you all are doing. And now back to you.
Well, again, we can't let you go too far without talking about this lovely gem. If it'll show up, come on. All right, let me do this.
Ooh, that's Emily's.
Yes. So let me. There we go. Okay. So blur. Let's blur that one because. Oh, come on. There we go. That's what we wanted to see and showcase. So that lovely book. I think we'll have to do a bit of foreshadowing for maybe December about things you should be getting for Christmas if you don't already have it. One of those.
Also, an amazing birthday present. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Or, you know,
So
happy
wanted to
first day of
showcase.
summer.
Yeah, want to showcase that because that's a great book that Emily and crew put together. And again, if you don't have it in your collection, get it there because it's good to be on the ottoman or the coffee table because it creates good discussion. So thank you guys for doing this. I mean, it's great because the BS&BEER, like from my experience of what occurred with Pathfuls Accelerator, we are trying to keep people together during COVID, and the BS&BEER show did the exact same thing, and it was great to have more events where we could learn and share from people and share different stories. And so, you know, almost like 4 years later, here we are where we now have BS&BEER Canada and another opportunity to connect with people. Aaron and I were lucky to be in Vegas at the International Builder Show for the one-day compact building science symposium, which was fantastic, and looking forward to get the extended 2-day version in lovely Toronto, which Connor would say, of course, is the middle of Canada, but we know Justin is really in the middle of Canada in Saskatchewan, which, again, if you know your history, we've got you know, the first passive house, you know, home with the Saskatchewan Conservation House. We know that there's some good roots in the heartland of Saskatchewan.
Definitely is. And I'm excited for the symposium next week as well, because we're going to be able to introduce Travis to some other beers beyond kokanee that he might enjoy. But before we get into maybe having Emily and Travis tell us a little bit about, you know, starting your own BS&BEER group, I'd like to just introduce Justin, who has joined the BS&BEER Canada team. He lives and builds in climate zone 7, so that is probably a little far north for Travis's taste.
Too cool for me, man.
So maybe we'll get Justin just to briefly introduce himself, and then we'll maybe get Thomas and Peter in the mix with Emily and Travis and talk about starting your own group.
Yeah, thanks, guys. As mentioned, I'm Justin Ott. I own Element Construction in Saskatchewan. And yeah, I'm super excited to be part of the BS&BEER Canada and share, you know, what we're doing here in Saskatchewan and along for the ride to continue learning from everyone else and what they're doing. So yeah, thank you.
Justin's being extremely humble. He has some really amazing high performance details. Actually, maybe you can bring them to Toronto next week with you. Justin can share them with Travis.
I'd love to learn from you.
They are spot on. They really are.
Yeah, I'll put in the link there of when we had Justin on. We had a whole hour of Justin diving into his details, and we were all in awe. You know, jaws hit the ground, be like, he has done this for his community. This is what he's working with his business. What amazing investment to be able to show clients of this is how we build and have the 3D models. It's gorgeous. So
I would also offer that it probably reduces mock-up time by probably 70%. Like probably like 50 for sure, hands down 50.
Well, we all know that 60% of the time it's working every time.
Every time.
Oh, a good Sex Panther reference, always good.
Well, we should probably, well, we'll get Peter, since Peter was the first local group to start up in Canada, to introduce him. Hey, it's good to be first sometimes. If you don't mind introducing yourself, Peter, and tell us a little bit about your experience starting a BS&BEER group.
All right, I'll try and not cover too broad of a spectrum, so I'll leave some things for Thomas too. I'm Pete, and I work at a Dundas Hamilton area. Park 8 is a firm that's multidisciplinary structural, we do architectural detailing. My background's interior design. I weaseled my way into the construction industry. My dad did not work in construction. I did some cabinet shop work and some framing, and yeah, and then architecture firm for 12 years, and then now I'm at this firm, and it's going fantastic. I am drinking a Lake of Bays, which I pleasantly picked up on the way home. It could not be more appropriate. It's called Off the Grid Hazy Pale Ale. It has an A-frame cottage in there.
That is awesome. Well, our good friend Mark Willie, he loves an A-frame, and then if you know my friend Todd Talbot, he also loves A-frame. So that's a hot beer.
I would say how things started for me. I was doing renovations on my own house, earbuds in, and you know, when you're working on those like sort of monotonous, repetitive jobs, just filling my head with good information and air sealing and podcasts, and loving every minute of it. And I think I started on fine home building, and then somebody mentioned BS&BEER, and then I got to the BS&BEER show. I thought to myself, I like beer and I like building science. Why am I not doing this? And then I'm not a Facebook guy, and I just assume everybody's on Facebook, and that's the start point from everything. And I was delighted to find out that's not true. But I searched quickly, wanted to know if there was a group in my area. There wasn't. I tried 2 different routes. I think I tried reaching out to Travis, and then also Mike Maines. Mike's pretty active, so he gave me a heads up and said, "No, I don't think so. I think you're good to go." I wanted to do it right, so my first thing was reaching out, finding out, okay, obviously there's a framework, right? It seems like you introduce yourself, what are you drinking, and there's a spiel. So we actually, and of course, like your zoning map, right? So my start point was print out a couple of these, well, make the Instagram account. Then I printed out a quick zoning map, which I ended up making into cue cards. Ugh, you can't even see them because it's overlapping. It's in my background. You're fine. Believe me, it's a cue card. Check the Instagram account. On the back of it, it literally has the write up, you know, your standard start point. So that's how we start. That's the only part that we read in our meeting. And that's sort of the start framework. And I really wanted it to be a jump off point for people that actually show up. If you show up, then you have some say, and we can vote on topics we want to hear, and we're going to build it the way we want to build it. And I wanted to be respectful to the BS&BEER Canada. You guys do every 3rd Thursday, although you threw me for a loop last month. I think that's because of JLC, right? And I was like, I think I'm counting right. I don't know what's going on. Our next meet will be September. We're only doing twice a year, 2nd Thursday, so September 12th, as a start point. And I think we'll build a little more. I think Michael Maines in one of his on the website mentioned skip summer if you can, because there's a lot of people that are on vacations and such. Our first meet had less folks, I think, than we would have loved to have, but I will say we had a pretty good spread. Like I think the original brew crew had like designers, architects, builders, and we had all those 3 covered, which is awesome. I think that's a great spot to start, right? And all my beginning, I guess, was like, where did it come from? What was the background? And a fellow friend of mine mentioned ChatGPT was up and live. I tried it. I said, what was the origins of BS&BEER? And the results I got was a Bible study and beer group, which sounds great, but maybe we should influence ChatGPT a little. get some info out there.
Let's do it.
Anyway, I got a little bullet list of like, where it started, probably one of the only good things that came out of COVID. And then like down the line, right? US and then different states and eventually BS in Canada and into my earbud. And then I was like, why aren't we doing this? Can we do in Ontario? And here we are. So that's how our group started. Speaking of which, with the other folks that are on here, if you want a little map like mine, it's already in Photoshop. I can trace it for you. So on our list, we would love to have a cool logo at some point. Stickers would be awesome. I saw Sean was printing something, so I hope to see it at the symposium. Maybe grab a couple off of you.
We are also happy to share the original logo file with you.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah.
BS&BEER Canada has had stickers for a little while now, and I definitely have a couple set aside for you when we meet in person in Toronto.
Well, we have hard hats and we have toolboxes waiting to receive them. So, I'm looking over my board here. So we had action items that we wanted to sort of build up, like location, somewhere we can expand and meet together at a consistent time. So that's the basic framework we went with. We are not big enough for a moderator, although somebody recommended that, I think. We have a beer bell. If anybody says, but don't buildings need to breathe? The first person to hit the bell, you owe them a beer.
I love that.
I want it to be fun. So I think that's it. I think in the group and folks that were there, they really understood the benefits that will be to them. It can be self-serving in a way that you want to hire people that care about it. If you see them at a group meeting, you know that that's a mechanical trade that cares, a roofer that cares, and that synergy is fantastic. Everybody's on a different level of their building knowledge, right? So whatever we can share or learn is plus. And we talked about the symposium next week, but that was my framework. That's how I started. So I guess Instagram account, get a logo with some cards, get some basic framework from the other shows, pick dates, be consistent. That's what I have.
I love it. That is a great formula to get started with for sure. Well, and again, I look forward to meeting you, Pete, in person. Again, virtual events are great, but having a high five and a beer is always a good thing to do that in person. So I look forward to that next week. And I get to drag out a local friend out to Toronto that also got to check out the Building Science Symposium in Vegas. So the building science is definitely into his grains and in his blood, and he wanted to have his own event. And so there you are, Mr. Thomas. Talk about your inspiration to have it out here in Vancouver.
Well, I think it's kind of the same idea where, well, first, I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Thomas Bolduc. I'm an architectural technologist specializing in building envelope. I've been doing building envelope installation since '97. I did 25 years of install, and then I went back and I did a bunch of engineering at BCIT. And 6 years after that, I started a company, and that's kind of where I am now. I got bit by the building science bug, I guess you could say, and there was no easy space to find where I could have conversations where I felt comfortable. And I feel like I've kind of found that with this building science community. We are lucky in Vancouver here. We have a progressive home builders association, but it's still not building science focused. I wanted to find something that was very specific to building science because it's such a wide topic, but as a focus just on building science and be able to have all those different conversations to do with all those different systems that incorporate high performance, that's what I was missing. And so when I got the feeling like I belonged and I found my people, I figured, why don't we have one of these here in Vancouver?
So turn the oven down.
So that's basically why. But I'm drinking a Modelo, and the reason is I'm kind of missing being in Vegas with all of you at the
the last symposium that I was at, but I'm looking forward to the one coming up right around the corner here in Toronto. Yeah, it's about community and finding those like-minded individuals that are all kind of focused that, you know, the catalyst of our environmental impact through building science is really, you know, it's a big thing for me. So that's my legacy. That's what I want to leave for my kids.
Great
That's
legacy.
awesome.
Yeah. And maybe we just talk about quickly about this facility that you're creating that might be one of our first places to have an event, which is pretty exciting.
Well, I've been fortunate to be able to grow my business, and we just moved into our new warehouse, shop, showroom slash. I mean, we're going to build a high performance stage that's going to have a permanent home for BS&BEER anywhere that wants to come. You know, there's been conversations about maybe a Vancouver symposium in the future. I'd definitely be willing to host some of that, and I'm kind of working towards maybe being able to do that at one point in time here. You know, I can put a lot of people in my facility and we can talk building science and have speakers there, not unlike what I've seen in Vegas. So, you know, why not?
Love it.
You got room for 150 up there, Thomas?
Oh yeah, I could probably do 150 people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a shop. I'll get there in early May because next week him and I'll be in Toronto. So yeah, and for those that don't know, he's my cladding guy, you know. So it's great to have someone that loves this stuff. And when you say, okay, make it look pretty, but also take care of the building science and make sure it's wrapped and has a sweater on it, he gets all the details. And so again, great community.
This is a classic story, and like if you're a craftsman or in any way passionate about building, you will appreciate this. Most of you know that I've known Sean for quite some time now, and I've been out to visit Sean, and I met Thomas's flashings before I met Thomas, and I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. This is clean. This is crisp. This is well done. And then in Vegas at IBS, I actually got to meet the man behind the flashings. I already knew I liked him because of, you know, he's a good craftsman. He, you know, does important work, and yeah, it works out well. Yeah, you're hired anytime. Seriously, Thomas, come on out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Aaron,
Like
looks
Canadian
like our,
Bob Kelly.
yeah, it pretty much is. Yeah. And so that was the best part in Vegas. I walk up to Bob and I was like, you, Thomas, you talk to Bob. I'll see you guys later. 3 days later, they're the best of friends. They've already like figured out how to swap stories and ship product to each other. Oh yeah, it became pretty quick, pretty good. There you go. He's already got it wick right.
Nice. Wick right.
There you go. So
It's like the Spider-Man meme.
That's it. All right. Mr. Mark Willie, our foreign correspondent, has joined us somewhere in the United States of America. What's going on, Mr. Mark Willie?
He's frozen on my
I
screen.
would say I'm touched with all the smiling faces. This is such an incredible community, and I love to see the growth. Super that you guys are doing in Toronto. My biggest advice is if you hit the nickel.
If you missed that, Mark said, yeah, if you hit the nickel, you've gone too far west. So make sure you're east of the nickel. If you've known Mark, last year he did get lost in the nickel and he was supposed to come to Vancouver and he went that way. He was supposed to come this way. So don't follow Mark with directions. Follow him for his thumb to make sure he can get you from A to B and his smiles, but directions, yeah, not his forte. But we love him. I'm glad he got to show up today.
It's how he meets everybody. It's not because he's going someplace. He's just lost all the time, and he meets new people, and he connects them. And
we think he's lost. He knows where he needs to be. That's the best part. He's always in the right spot. Yeah, no, absolutely.
oh,
Well, again, gentlemen, I thank you guys for setting up your own individual, chapters. It's great, and hopefully we'll have more and be able to connect. And again, this is the whole reason is just collaboration in community and have these great discussions. And if the local building community is not ready to talk about building science, well, guess what? Individuals will start to do it. And so it's great.
Well, you know what? We're doing our part though too, Sean. I believe in May, we're gonna go someplace together and we're gonna try and push somebody in the direction of starting a chapter.
Yeah,
You know, if you're on the road, you might as well give somebody a nudge.
exactly. Well, and sometimes, over the years, people have different, groups. They're like, oh, I want to get together. And this particular one, they call themselves Energy Beers. And they're happy to just convert that name to, BS&BEER. So if we can do that, that's great. And be able to take them to a bigger community, because I do know some people within that group that, would like hanging out with us too.
And the
Where's
more
this
people
at?
can bring it to the fold. Go ahead, Travis.
Secrets, my friend. Some things you just have to wait. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I'll tell you next week.
Fair enough.
How about this? It's 4-hour drive for me, and it's 2 flights and a portage for Aaron.
Okay.
Actually,
Fair
Justin
enough.
get there pretty quick too. He does like that neighborhood, and he's thinking about maybe starting another division of his brand in that community. So you never know these places. They're good people though.
Beautiful.
Canadians, we're very industrious.
Gotta respect it.
But I would really appreciate if Travis, you and Emily would, throw some insight and some tips and tricks, if you would, into starting, your own local BS&BEER group. And
Yeah.
any of your own experiences that may add value to us, to Thomas or Peter, just to help do things a little bit better. You know, information is always welcome.
Ladies first, Emily.
Well, sure. I think there are a lot of great points that have already been said, right? Consistency seems to be a thing, right? So like if you're gonna do it at the same time, whether you do it twice a year or whether you do it once a week or once a month or whatever, because then it sort of reminds people to do it, right? So it's kind of like just the remembering to do it. And so we do often take off in the summertime, because for us in Maine, that's like the best time to get projects done. So people are on vacation or really like in the middle of a project. And so for you guys in Canada, probably is a similar situation. Maybe not as much for some other places farther south if it's warmer, whatever. But we often take the summer off because we just see a slide in attendance in the summertime. People want to be out hanging out with their family. But it also, I think, really reinvigorates September, right? Like everybody is super excited to get back together again in September. You have BS&BEER Canada, which you'll probably do through the summertime, so it still gets people like, oh, I really still want, BS, which is awesome. But with our local groups, we find it's just a little bit more of a struggle in the summertime. I think finding a place is usually the hardest thing, right? So you got to find a place that will either let you meet there and bring your own beer, or let you meet there as long as everybody buys beer. Because local groups and even, BS&BEER Canada and the BS&BEER show, online it's a grassroots movement, right? We're not asking you guys to invest all of your money and all of your dollars. Although if you provide beer, they will come, and then you can give them the building science, right? So, or like even if they have to buy their own beer. The other thing that I would say is people get scared by building science, which is why it's BS&BEER. So rope them in because they think you're just going to sit around and complain about the status that is the contracting world, and give them a thing, a topic, right? Like you have to have a topic. I know you said you were too small to have a moderator, but I think that sometimes when you have a really small group, people are afraid to talk because it's very intimate. So having and you don't have to call them a moderator, but somebody who starts the discussion, throws a couple of questions out there. What are people experiencing? Has helped with our group. I know the building science discussion group in Portland, which was kind of the original start to it, now is much larger and it is a hot mess. And like we have a moderator and somebody's drawn on the board and people are talking over each other and like it's just absolute insanity. And it also sort of started in a time when people were kind of frustrated by the codes changing and stuff like that. So if you're seeing a new code cycle coming around, that's a great time to get together and people say, well, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you handling this or whatever? And so if you're not sure about a topic, like, or something is happening in your market, that's generally a great time to get together and, you know, come up with what you're going to talk about. So for us, that's really worked out well. I'll also say because the building science discussion group is doing well, they've actually added a building science discussion group for women, not just for women, but like another version of that too. So and I think you were right on trying to get all of the different players, because your builder is going to know another builder, right? And then they invite them the next time, like, hey, I went to this thing, you know, and it had this. Or your architect's going to know another architect and they're going to bring a friend, right? And that's how your groups grow. So don't worry if there's only 3 of you there the first time. Like, everybody brings a friend the next time and then brings a friend the next time. And all of a sudden you'll be 100 deep, like the original group, and wondering what's gone. Or maybe not. It depends on how rural your area. Portland is our only city. So I'm just, you know, just saying for the state of Maine. So it attracts people because that's where everybody is. Mike and I do one in, we used to do it in Liberty, and that one is much smaller, but it's great because it's still a very intimate gathering where people aren't afraid to ask questions once you get it started, which can be hard to do when your groups get larger, as people don't want to look stupid or ask a dumb question. And so embrace the smallness of the groups too. I think it works really well for people. So Travis?
Yeah, I think our story is a little bit different, and it not right or wrong, just different ways to skin the cat, so to speak. I take a lot of pride in being in the Midwest, and I think it's probably a reaction to being thought of as flyover country in the States. Kansas doesn't get a lot of national respect, and we have some really great things here, so I lean into that. But I will say, we're not exactly a market of high performance building history, or even really architectural history. There's just not a huge groundswell of interest and support historically for high performance building. So where your group or the original group could roll out a whiteboard and say, we're just going to talk about this topic, and have 20 of the brightest minds on the topic all chiming in, that's not really something that I would feel very confident about in our market a few years ago. Now, totally different story. But at that time, we had one passive house builder in the area. We had 3 builders that were interested in marketing themselves as high performance builders. And it had been the race to the bottom for a long time. So instead of rolling out the whiteboard and having a discussion topic, we felt it was our role to, as inspired by the Fine Home Building Summit, basically to educate, to bring in a speaker that could educate everyone on a topic. And honestly, that's sort of the model that I think sort of became the BS&BEER show is, hey, let's start with a presentation from an expert on a topic that can allow everyone to be part of the conversation. That was really important to us, was that everyone in the room, like Emily was saying, you know, some people don't have the confidence to certainly speak up right away. We wanted everyone to feel like they could participate, even if they didn't know anything about building science. We want them to feel confident and be able to enjoy the discussion, and not feel less than, even if it's all new to them. So we would begin every session of our group with a presentation from an expert on a topic. And even if it was really basic, like I gave the first couple, they not high level stuff. I think my first one was like the low hanging fruit of building science. And I talked about air sealing your rim joist, which is a really important thing around here in our basement market. But that's not high level stuff. Like, we weren't doing woofy analysis. We were quite literally caulking and carrying.
I think you're missing the point. I think you're missing the point. Building science is that, right? It's water in our buildings.
Very true.
It's flash me. It's all of those little things, right? That is
Very
building
true.
science. And I would say, even though the building science discussion group has now brought in a bunch of professionals for what we have, when I said we rolled out a whiteboard, it was, a couple homeowners, maybe Mike and I, we answered a lot of. So I guess technically you could say we were the
You
speakers,
were the experts.
right? Again, totally agree that you might just be there to educate, right? And doing education on it for sure. And when I say you might be there to educate, I don't mean that you have to be doing Wolfie analysis and be Dr. Joe Stiebrick. You just have to know a little bit more than the guy or gal who is asking you the question, right? That's how we all get better.
And you don't even
And you know
necessarily
what?
have to know more. Sorry.
Right.
No, absolutely. We're going the same place. I was going to say you don't even have to know more. You just have to share your experience.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's exactly
Exactly right.
like
We're just all
minds.
trying to help each other out and sharing the knowledge that we've gained through our experiences or our research for the more academic side. That's really valuable, and that's what builds this community up. And that's why we've experienced such great, I guess it sounds smug to say success, but I'm not claiming that success for myself. I'm saying that our group has been very successful in meeting again and again and building that enthusiasm. Joe and I, my business partner, Joe Cook, who helped start BS&BEER here in KC, when we did the first one, we had a third partner in it, Joe Nichols, at the time was an aero barrier rep and is a passive house builder here in town. Great guy, still involved. We decided we would buy the beer. And so we put an Instagram invite out and said, hey, free beer. So of course we got like 90 in attendance for our first one. We never could even get a break in the conversations for everyone networking to even have a conversation that was formal. It was more of like a social meetup. And we're like, gosh, that was a really great success, except that we didn't do any of the things that we promised, which was to have a building science discussion and try and get some information out to these people. So next time, maybe we just say we'll only buy one beer. And so we got our numbers down to about 70 for that second one. And then the next time, and we still didn't get a presentation out. We did have some good discussions and great community. But the third time we said, we're not buying anyone's beers publicly. We did not buy the tab for the whole room. And we got it down to about 45 and we gave our first presentation. And from then on, it really was a very steady 20 to 25 every time we got together. It was a celebration of the community. And I know that's what all of you are enjoying, even when it's 2 or 3 people, which we've had some really small gatherings. It's incredible to just be in the presence of people who are like-minded, who care about their craft, who want to do a better thing for the built environment. And that's all it takes. Just get a few people together and have a conversation about what you're facing, the challenges, and the victories. Because occasionally we figure something out and go, gosh, this is great. If everyone was doing this, we'd all be better off. So those, I think, would be my adds to the how to make it work and what does best. Certainly the Instagram handle to get the information out there. We also do an email list. I know Mike does that. Several of you do. We always try to do it the first Tuesday of every month. Again, the consistency aspect, and we haven't been consistent since we've been traveling with the symposium series. That's been a real challenge, and that has hurt us, frankly. But I will say that time and time again, what we find is you need to be willing to ask, because you can get some incredibly valuable speakers and leaders of your community, of this building science community, to share generously. Like Randy Williams has driven down here just to talk to our group. No other reason to come down other than to hang out. There's so much generosity in this community. And if anyone has a question or is facing a problem, you don't have to look very far. You throw up the building science bat signal and then in flies Ben Bogey. And it's just, that's the wonderful time that we live in. So I would just encourage anyone who is having, thoughts of starting a group or is having struggles with, not getting it to go the way they want, to reach out to anyone on this panel. Reach out to Mike Maines, who replies somehow to every email and GBA forum request. Like, these people are incredibly generous. So lean into that and take full advantage. And if you can't get the person that you want, call Mark Willie, because he can get them.
Hot tips there.
That is-
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely call Mark Willie. Send him a smoke signal if you have to. He'll be thumbing along by the road somewhere close to you. I guarantee it.
I've got a question because you mentioned presentation or pulling in somebody. Is there like a sweet spot for how long they're speaking? I think our window originally we were thinking an hour. We were well into 2 hours by the time it cut out, but it was 20 minutes, a nice like third of the hour. Like is that a good breakout?
When we invite guests to do that, we always offer 10 to 15 minutes. And I think that's what we tried to do on the BS&BEER show is like, hey, you can do 10 to 15 minutes, but when you have greatness that is a known quantity, like I think we have Enrico on next this coming month on the BS&BEER show, you give those folks a little more latitude because they're professional presenters and they're going to keep the room in rapt engagement. No one's going to be rambling. But when we have in the past, when we have had people that were less experienced speaking, like my first couple, I tried to keep it 10 or 15 minutes and then immediately get to questions because that's really the value in it for us is getting that community going and being able to have the discussion. It is a discussion group more so than a seminar is the intent for us. But I mean, you can read the room, and that's why Dan Colbert's such a fantastic moderator from what I hear. He doesn't necessarily know every single answer to every question, and he isn't trying to chime in with his own information. He's directing traffic and keeping it going. Is that fair, Emily?
Yeah, he tells everybody to shut up when it gets a little loud. Let's just be real.
He's a real sweetheart.
Dan's the all right, you guys be quiet now. Like we gotta make it to the rest of this topic. And for the most part, we don't do presentations at the building science discussion group, but that's only because the area doesn't really allow for it, right? Like we meet in Steve's showroom, I guess you would say, right? And so there's a chalkboard on the wall, and Chris is a phenomenal designer, so he draws on the chalkboard fairly frequently, or him or Dan will write on it. We generally don't have a presentation, and so I would say that depending on where you're meeting, sometimes that can be a little bit challenging. Like if you meet at a brewery, it can be a little loud. You're not the only people there, and so if you're doing something like in that area, you could have somebody doing a demonstration, right? So like sounds like you got some pretty awesome flashing details. You guys are both on the top of my screen, right? So like, bringing pieces along, people love hands-on stuff, getting to see that. And so like if you can't do a presentation on a board or whatever, that also works great. That's what works good in Steve's showroom as well. It's like so we pick up a triple pane window and talk about it. There's lots of props.
Oh, there
That
might be
brings to
some
mind-
like East Coast, West Coast, who does it better thing coming
Ooh,
for
that sounds like a good
August 26th.
Flash off.
Just saying.
I think that sounds like a good flashing day challenge. Do do do.
Love it.
Yeah.
So I would like to say two things before I end up getting cut off to pick up my son from baseball, and apologize for the drive time thing. But the two things that came to mind as Emily was speaking were very important. The first being in terms of the venue. Obviously, you need it quiet enough to hear one another. We always do ours in a brewery, and we found some good partners in that where they have a presentation space. But that wasn't the important part of this. The important part is the time of day that you do it. And it may not be the same for your group, but for our group locally, 4 p.m. is the magic time because all of your tradespeople are wrapping. The guys that are on the roof framing at 7 a.m. in the summer here, they're done. They've rolled up at 3:30. They're happy to go visit the brewery. But you also get the architects and designers who are like, wait, I can cut out of work early and get a drink, and it's really professional development, and I can log my education hours. This is really important, and my boss will totally approve it. So we found when we started at 5, the tradespeople had already gone home and maybe already had a beer at home. They weren't coming back out. And the designers were like, well, nah, this is not important enough to stay late for work. But at 4 o'clock, they're all in. They're there at 3:30. They don't want to be late. So time of day was good for us at 4 p.m. And then the other thing that I was going to say is now escaped me, but it was really good. And I hope I get it back before it's too late.
Well, maybe I'll just give you a pause while that comes to you. As Pete, to answer your question, to go after a great Canadian TV show, this hour has 22 minutes. 22 minutes is a nice sweet spot because again, copy and paste from pros. TV shows are always 22 minutes, 8 minutes of commercials, and really, leaving that time for conversation is really the best part because sometimes a good presentation is not the presentation, it's the question period afterwards. But that little bit to just get over some comfort zones, go over 5 or 6 major points, and then just be like, oh, if you like that detail, I also have this slide that I kind of, left in the hopper for you, and you pull out that detail and you go off for another 10 minutes. Like it's quite quickly to see how an hour gets full pretty quick just with 22 minutes of just jam-packed great info, and then boom.
Yeah, we for sure have exceeded that. If we get a 15 or 20-minute presentation, the discussion and questions, as you said, that easily goes into the next hour. And we'll often, even though I say we start at 4, we'll have social or gathering time, we call it. And we don't really start the presentation on 4:15, 4:20. And before I lose it, the important thing that I remembered was you don't have to meet at a business box, brewery, showroom. Some of our best meetings have been on sites. We did blower door testing with Randy on a high performance project that we built just to go over details and get feedback. Like it wasn't just a, hey, look what we did. It was equally valuable for us to say, oh gosh, we have the passive house guys here. How would you have done this detail? What could we have done better? And so the on sites, holy cow, they're well attended. And we got that one in July, which Kansas City in July. Look up the Ichiro Suzuki quote on that. It's not great. We had 40 some people out because they wanted to see it and touch it, just like you're talking about the window section. Doing something at your project can be incredibly valuable, not just for you to get the feedback, but also to share with these tangible things. So do an on-site. People are used to BYOB, a lawn chair and a 6-pack is an easy thing for most people to get behind. So that's my last tip. I've spoken too much and wasted too much of your time, but I'm thrilled that you guys are doing so well in the north and expanding the BS far and wide, as Mike Maines always says. It's my pleasure and privilege to be your guest. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Well,
Travis.
it's an absolute pleasure to have both of you join us. And I would like to say that, both of you were part of my inspiration to, push this to BS&BEER Canada. And I know we've spoken in person about it briefly before, Travis, but if you don't have somebody local, there is always a way to get like-minded people together. You don't necessarily have to go as far as to, creating an award-winning, nationally syndicated BS&BEER Canada show, but we're not actually award-winning and we're not syndicated. But someday we might be.
We'll make you a fake award. We like those at Pretty Good House.
Hey, I've already created one fake holiday. I'm not above that.
See?
I'm all about, hey, at our new hockey for the summer hockey team, we've got again a wrestling belt that is the MVP. The guy that created that, like every event should have you get your own wrestling belt with some award. That should be the award. Just get the belt, slap it on around your waist, and enjoy that time. That's pretty special. I don't know. Maybe it's just the era we grew up in, that the baseball trophies are cool, but the belt is just something top shelf. So
you should go get your chain.
Wall Assembly Sweet 16 had a belt in its first year. I think Matt Blomquist still has the strap, as they say.
Yeah.
We have a belt as well, but it's Employee of the Month, and it's out right now. So, but it's
try harder next month, Thomas.
Yeah,
Is it the Stanley Cup where it moves around?
Toronto. Yeah, that's the building envelope belt. Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, that little totem's always nice to have.
There we go. There we go.
Starts on Saturday, folks. Just saying. Playoff start.
Well, I don't know, but I think maybe we should take the last few minutes and open up questions to the floor. Maybe there's somebody who's curious about starting a local group and hey, you've got us all here. Now's your opportunity.
Well, I know a couple of these individuals that are here today. We're going to see them next week, which is great.
Maybe they're just going to wait to ask in person.
Yep.
Oh, here's Peter.
Oh, here's Peter.
You're on
If
mute,
I can
Peter.
say.
There you go.
Okay, yeah, I got it. In fact, I've been meeting informally, just one-on-one, with a local realtor who sought me out, found me on the list because of that designation. And he wants to put up a small unit on his own property in the alley, like so, but build it properly, the way we know how.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, I mean, we've been conversing. It was once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. And now he's in tax season because he does the CPA thing. So
Yeah.
I haven't got together with him, but we'll see him again in May. Yeah. So, you know, it's an informal start. Dundas isn't that far from me, you know. I'm across in Oshawa, Peter, and I speak Dutch too. Do you?
I do. Yeah, I'm a Van den Arend.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's something that I could think of actually doing because we could start a small branch here. I've been looking for ways to try to get it promoted in the city and talking to a builder who says, materials are too expensive. We can't do that now. We can't sell it for enough. It's like, but you can, you know, sell better quality, but whatever their interest. Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, either way, Peter, I hope that works out for you well. But I am looking forward to meeting you in person because we have we've crossed paths virtually a few dozen times, and just we'll get to meet in person. It's all about the people, really. That's
Can
what this
I
is all
bring
about.
my snips? I'm ready to go head to head. Who's that?
Absolutely.
Jeremiah? You want a snip of flashing? Thomas, what
Yeah.
about you?
Yeah.
Because that's what I did chasing 2 roofing crews.
Love it.
That's been my bread and butter since '97.
Yeah, that's great.
I started at 92.
Peter, I'm north of you in Uxbridge, and I'm too, let's say, too strapped down with life, wrapping up a renovation and tending to a just turned 18-month-old to throw something on my own. But I was a little disappointed because the recent get-together in Hamilton was just too far to swing. In rush hour traffic, I looked at it was 2.5 hours there, and I was like, no, that's not happening. So yeah, that's if you're looking for someone to maybe help, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's nice to know. I'd like to get together.
Do an east side, east side of the city.
Yep, that'd be great.
Now, I should mention that Leo has real world experience in air sealing a very, very old house.
Let's just also highlight the fact that I'm maybe on my way to becoming a professional, but at the moment I'm just a fancily self-educated homeowner. So you know, yes, I am a contractor, but I'm nowhere near anywhere where I could maybe give a presentation yet. We'll keep working on that.
The best way to learn is to teach.
On that note.
And make mistakes.
There you go.
Shout out. Yeah.
All you have to present on is all the pain points you went through in your renovation. I've been an architect for 20 years, and I get lots of questions about the renovation project I'm doing on my house. That's what everybody wants to know.
Emily, let me remind you that this is one evening and not an entire month I get to talk.
Oh, I don't know. He might let you talk for a whole month. You never know.
Can I make a request? I think it's a reasonable one. If you do start a group, or if you have started a group recently, would you be willing to, and this is for all your massive viewers as well as those on the panel, just make sure that we have your email and contact information as the group organizer, because Emily's done a really nice job. I think it's Emily, either you or Mike. It was you? Yes. Emily put the directory on the website, the BS&BEER show website. And I think that that's a helpful resource for people that are looking for a group. If you don't want to start it yourself, you can look for one that's already existing. And that's a nice way to be able to access that, especially if you're not on Instagram, just typing @BS_ and then watching it scroll. It's handy to be able to reach out to a person and look for help. So if you would please share that contact. You can email me directly, travis@catalystbuilt.com. You can email the BS&BEER show, has an account. Emily is incredibly generous with her time. We'll get the information there, but definitely would like to make that request that everyone do that.
I'm putting all the fun links into the chat so that everyone has them.
And there may or may not have already been a discussion about a sign-up sheet, maybe on a table in Toronto, that if you're thinking about it or you're going to, just jot your email address down here and we'll help you out.
Or even if you're not thinking about it, if you thought it would be great to have one in your area, that's always a great thing. It's like, oh, there's 4 or 5 of us. Well, I don't want to do it myself, but if there are 4 or 5 of us, maybe, so I think that is definitely how some of our groups have spawned. Is there were a couple of people in the same area. You're like, oh, hey, you're here and I'm here. So definitely take notes for anybody who's looking, because they might accidentally start their own group. We love those.
Yeah,
100%. And it's important to have people. I mean, when I wanted to get this off the ground, I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to do it by myself. I reached out to Sean, who I was pretty sure was going to say yes, but I mean, you never know, right?
I'm a sure thing.
He's easy like that, but most of us Canadians are, eh? Connor, reached out to Connor. That went very well. I had to, Lori's a very busy person, amazing at what she does, but she's very busy. So I had to kind of chase her around a little bit. But once I got her pinned down on a Zoom call, that was it. She was in. Yeah, it takes time. And well, Justin, I think we just told him he was part of the group and it was too bad.
Got voluntold. Love that.
If you don't show up to meetings, you get voluntold for other things too. Just warning you.
Yeah.
I really like the on-site introduction to building science that Travis had mentioned. I'm in a pretty rural area, and when I mention, pretty much anything regarding building science, there's like one other tradesperson who's fairly not the most active social person, probably not that keen to join a group necessarily, but it's not, I don't get a response of, people, knowing really what I'm talking about. And I've shared BS&BEER episodes with different people that I think might be interested, but I think an on-site is a really good idea because it's there's no pressure at all. Like you can just be basically showing off a portion of a project and people can go because they're curious to see a project, regardless of what the behind the scenes that you want to kind of highlight or talk about. People like seeing buildings and houses kind of at any stage. So that might be one good way to be able to kind of maybe find some people that either you don't know in your area, or maybe they don't even really know that they're interested in understanding more about building science until they actually see something firsthand. So I think that'll probably be an avenue that we try, because it's been on my mind for a while too, to try and get something going. And I think sometimes you need that touch and feel feature to kind of get people in.
Absolutely.
I really like that idea because I'm hoping it might still happen this year, and I will probably be relying on I'm very much relying on actually on this symposium next week to find help with a garage project for this house I'm in, garage / workshop, and my plan is to build a pretty good garage or pretty good workshop with small little, maybe if we can afford to do so, office attachment or I don't know, in-laws suite or something like that, or at least prep it so that it can be added in in a later time when one can afford it. But if Uxbridge is not too far for people, then yeah, I'd be totally open for people to coming here to sort of see a pretty good garage being built.
Yeah, I was gonna say Randy Rand here in Orno, Maine, BS&BEER Orno, kind of did the same thing, right? He's in a, I don't know if I would totally call Orno a rural area, but a more rural area than some other places. And that was how he got some people just kind of interested in it. As he said, hey, I'm building this house. Like, people are nosy, right? They won't, they come see it.
Yeah.
So.
And we have a brewery, right?
One of the
We have a
questions-
brewery in 5 minutes walking distance, so one could actually combine it.
There you go. House tour, brewery
House
afterwards.
tour, brewery. It is feasible.
Yeah.
I'm actually looking
Friends, I
at
gotta
it.
log off. It was my pleasure to join you. Thanks again for everything.
Thank you for making time for us, Travis. We really appreciate it.
Take
See you
care.
next week, my friend.
Yeah, all the volunteers. Thank you. Something that got me curious about, and actually the contractor that was there at our meeting, he mentioned too, like it would be cool to share a site, but how do you navigate, having a beer on a site if you're rural, like it's okay, but it's liability too, right? So I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Maybe a near beer.
Well, you can do that. There's also a pretty standard, liability clause thing that you can have done up. It kind of sucks that that's the world we live in, but that is reality. And if it's a concern, especially if it involves a client and a business, and there's a lot of moving parts in doing that, it might be worth it to put yourself at ease and your client and your company at ease.
I'd say even if you aren't drinking beer, it's probably just a good idea for you as the professional to have people sign off that they know they're coming onto a construction site, right? And that they're prepared for that. And like I agree, it's terrible that that's the world that we live in, but
Does anyone have any legal experience, whether it's enough to kind of read off a paper, a certain, by setting foot on this construction site, you are acknowledging the fact that, kind of like the way they have sometimes when you're on a website, they don't offer you to decline cookies. They just have the option to say, sort of click, but by continuing to use this website, you're agreeing to that we use cookies.
I would offer that maybe BS&BEER Canada could very easily get a form letter that you would have to tweak to fit your local whatever municipal bylaws, etc. and whatnot, and depending where you build, but it would kind of hit like all of the standard safety points and the standard legal obligations as far as allowing someone to drink at your establishment in Canada. But every province differs on their liquor regulations and whatnot. So it would be basic and you'd have to just get it tweaked locally. But I'm pretty sure we could get something together that would kind of fit that bill.
All right.
I'm
Well,
expecting
somebody.
safety glasses, hard hats, high vis vests, and harnesses if you're 2 feet off the ground.
If you're drinking a beer at 6 inches, that's just the way it is. But yeah, I think we know somebody who probably be able to help us at least get it pointed in the right direction. And you just have to take it and get somebody local to say, yes, this is good, or let's add this line or delete that line.
it's an interesting thing. If I think back to sort of growing up in Austria, if you looked at any building site, you kind of just knew that they hadn't hooked up the water yet because everyone was only drinking beer to keep hydrated. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Leo, we know you don't kid. Hey everyone, I actually do need to say goodnight as well. Here in Vancouver, the Carbon Leadership Forum Embodied Carbon Awards are happening tonight. So for you on the East Coast that are kind of winding down your day, this party is just beginning on the West Coast. So I will see most of you in Toronto next week. And for those that I don't see, Emily, just come on up, right? Like get the passport.
I
Get in the
have a
car.
passport. In fact, I got my global entry at Niagara Falls. We used to live in Rochester and go to Toronto, and I don't live there anymore. And I'm really disappointed. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Taylorville, Illinois, while you guys are all in Toronto hanging out with Matt Bloomquist. So, and some Timber HP. But I did save the chat. Thank you for that. I will get all of the Canadian groups up on the BS&BEER show website as well. Aaron, send me or have Gina send me the file for BS&BEER Canada. I'll make sure that gets up there so it's really clear that you guys have your own groups in Canada as well. So I'll make sure that gets updated and on there. And if you find anybody else who starts a group, just keep us in the loop. I think Travis posted his. You guys all know how to get a hold of us. Yeah, I know. I got to try that Timber HP beer, but I didn't sneak one out with me. So Dan's in trouble.
Well, if you know Aaron, there's always something walking outside a door and across a border.
Oh, I know. I was at Timber HP with him, and he walked out with a whole bundle of. No, I'm kidding.
Just to be clear, Aaron definitely won that show and tell just now.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
So, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm headed out too.
Thank you for joining us, Emily. Really appreciate it. And
quick question.
I'm actually jealous because I would like to do both. I'd like to be in Taylorville and go to Toronto, but we both can't be at the same place at the same time.
So. We'll wave at each other while we fly that way.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Quick question on Timber HP. Any updates on availability in Ontario?
Not yet.
I was going to say, not yet, I don't think,
Not
but
yet.
I am sure that they are actively working on it.
So my understanding, Leo, is, and it's not available yet, but the first product we will see will be timber fill in Canada. And it'll, when it comes to Canada, it's probably going to come to Canada. Oh, go ahead.
Okay.
No, I was going to say, it's just going to come straight north to you.
Well, I'm hoping I get the first truckload, but I mean, I don't know.
No, it's something I guess I was wondering, like, just starting to think about what the garage could be, how it could be built, and things. It's obviously on my mind as a preferable product to use if already available by then.
Yeah. Well, you can't go wrong with it. But cellulose has been a staple in the industry for a long time. You're not gonna go wrong there. And if you're worried about other stuff, Rockwool is still bye, Emily.
Bye. Ask lots of questions about Timber HP and keep harping on them. They'll get to it, I promise. It was great to see all of you.
Right.
But I don't have to tell you, Leo, there's lots of great products out there that are going to work well for that. It's just, what's going to fit your budget, and then, what's the available. I always go with, it has to be durable and it has to be repeatable. If you can't repeat it, is it really worth, going down that road for just one build?
Also, if I may add another R to that, repairable.
100%. That goes with durability, though, right? If it's durable, hopefully you never have to repair it.
Well, no, but I mean, like, I'm thinking, spray foam can be durable, but it's very hard to repair it. It's
very true. Very true.
So that's what or foam in general, but spray foam particularly.
It's a renovation
is a
nightmare.
Exactly. So like that's what I guess I like about the Rockwool bats or something like that, is that you can remove it and replace and just put it right back once you're done repairing whatever needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
There
Well,
are other wood fiber insulations on the market as well. If carbon footprint and that kind of stuff is,
Sorry,
something that you're concerned with.
what was
Leo,
that?
there's other wood fiber installations on the market as well that
Mhm.
might be easier for you to get in your area.
Okay.
I'd suggest just, start digging around and seeing what some of your local suppliers have. Because there are other materials on the market that are coming, into Canada on our coast for sure. It's just, doing a little bit of digging to make sure, it fits what you're looking for.
Yeah. Is I forget, does 475 have anything in their
Gutex. Yep.
Okay, I guess yeah, if they have Gutex, okay, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Because there's there's a 475 warehouse in Toronto, like an hour from us. So that's where I got all the Intello for the renovation.
Butex can sometimes be a little bit of a building official conversation, at least from our end of things, in terms of how they're going to accept its use. We managed to do it on one project and weren't able to on a different project with a different municipality, so it can be a little bit dependent on that way.
Yeah,
MSL is another.
The
you're
inspector
already
here
using
also
it-
was the inspector
go ahead,
here was
Bill.
already questioning the Intello.
Yeah.
If you're a third-party engineer, I would just be leaning on your engineer for going through the specs. Get them all the literature, get them all the specs that are going to kind of, back up and give him the ammunition that he needs to be able to put his signature on the line. We do that on a daily basis. There's a lot of times where we're reverse value engineering to bring in a more high-performance product versus using, a conventionary product that is everybody else is using just for performance, a lot of times carbon footprint as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes getting the stamp from an engineer is, the little bit of money you spend up front to have everything just engineered completely out by detail up front, the headaches that it will save you on the back end or mid construction or delays during construction, the $500,000, $1,500, $2,000 might be worth it.
Oh yeah.
It can be an offset as
but
well.
it's not really accepted in most of the province. Let's say the only one that is accepting engineer sign off is mainly BC. We've done it almost all over the place, and most of the building department don't even accept those, which is kind of weird. But yeah, just keep an eye open.
Well, that brings up a good point, Bob. I was thinking, like for our own group, where can we spread out? Where can we put a poster if we had a poster? And one of the things I think would be in your local jurisdiction, like your building department. When they're going around and interviewing or saying who they are, I'm so and so and I'm drinking this, they might not want to say where they're working. Maybe they're just like a homeowner. But there or like construction houses, that's kind of on my list. We need a poster.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a couple examples. Let's say we're dealing a lot with RDH in Toronto with John Straub, and we had some letters from them, and even there, some of them were not even accepted by a building department. So
I've seen that in Burnaby actually here as well. Burnaby's been a real pain for anything high performance, and same idea. They had a project where the entire project was Gutex and they had to remove all of it. And third party engineer was they basically they wouldn't listen. So that it's one of those things too. Part of the reason why I started BS&BEER Vancouver was because the code hasn't caught up. The inspectors haven't caught up. So we need to kind of band together to push our will on some of these people that are still the old guy kind of group where they don't want to change. They don't want to kind of move with the science, right? They're happy doing it the way they've been doing it for the last 30 years.
As with some other builders as well, who just want to maintain their conventional status quo method of building and are unwilling to even look at what's a new idea to do it better. And it's not that complicated. It's slightly different materials, different adhesive tapes, different supply house, right? Because they don't sell yet the high performance materials in the big box stores, unfortunately. But there are some good sources when you get taught about it, but why are we having to teach the inspectors about how to build better?
It's been a
catch
thing for a
education,
long
right?
time, Peter.
Maybe it
Sorry, go
needs
ahead,
some
Thomas.
reverse psychology. Maybe the poster for the discussion needs to be how to trick your building inspector and plaster it somewhere where they see it and then show up for the event incognito. Who knows?
Protest at so-and-so brewery. Yeah.
We just lead with education and just try and stay ahead. In the province of New Brunswick, a lot of times it's there's not like necessarily a framing inspection. There's like a pre-drywall inspection. Some places there is an actual framing inspection, but pre-drywall, they do the framing inspection because they're basing it on the fact that you're going to have 6 mil poly everywhere and they're going to be able to see everything. But if you move to something like Myrex, well, can't see the framing through that. So we just try and get ahead of things. And it's like, look, if you don't come and check the framing out before we start insulating, you might not be able to see the framing. So we've got lots of pictures, but recommend you show up now. And
right.
Usually they do, and sometimes they don't. Just depends.
I agree. I think that's probably why the early products for smart vapor barriers like membrane is that clear, transparent-ish product because it's probably easily accepted, right? But anyway, I can tell for sure we're gonna have good discussions. I hope to see a lot of you at the symposium. It'd be awesome to really connect with people in that way. We're going to be doing a lot of synergy, a lot of brain transfers. It'd be fantastic. I look forward to it, everybody. And 100%. I mean, I know we lost Travis and Emily, but like, it's volunteer basis. None of you have to be here today. I really, really appreciate it. I think it's cool. It shows interest and hunger in the industry and doing things better. This group, I mean, you're awesome already, you know.
Thanks, Peter. It's just a bunch of people who love what they do and just want to build better. That's all it is. I mean, it's not that hard. We just want to do better. All right, gentlemen. It is 20 after 9 locally, and I think I need to get a couple things done before tomorrow's day starts. Hopefully I will see most of you. Actually, I know I'm going to see most of you. Are you going to make it to the symposium, Jeremiah?
I'll be there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to see all of you then. Perfect. See you guys all next week in person.
In person.
Safe travels.
That's
you know what would be cool? Sorry, before we all leave, it would be cool if for some brief moment, like 5 minutes, we could all be at the same table at the same time. Don't even have to share a whole beer together, but just like from online to in person, quick story, and carry on with the rest of our day. Let's try and make that happen.
Yeah, definitely.
What an awesome note to end on.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the way to do BS&BEER.
All right, gentlemen. Looking forward to our beer in person.